I've spent 25 years honing my craft to be able to do this job. I have promised myself with plenty of meditation, I will live it like that, regardless of the outcome.
Unfiltered Soccer with Landon and Tim, presented by Volkswagen. Volkswagen has long been a supporter of soccer in America and has proudly been a partner of U.S. Soccer for over 5 years.
Welcome into Unfiltered Soccer with Landon and Tim. LD, how are you, bud?
Doing great, man. Excited for today.
Excited for today. We always seem to get bigger and better guests each and every time. So super excited. We are joined by Olympic gold medal winning Women's Super League, 7-time Women's Super League champion, and 5-time, so jealous, 5-time FA Cup winner, none other than U.S. Women's National Team Manager Emma Hayes. Thank you, Emma, for joining us. This is an absolute honor.
The honor is all mine. Honestly, I've spent so much time watching you two play football over the years. I'm so glad you've invited me on to grill you both today. So thanks for having me.
Oh, we already know we've got our work cut out for us today. We get that. Thank you. This is awesome.
Emma, thank you. Before we start, guys, as always, follow us on social media at Unfiltered Soccer. Subscribe to the show on YouTube. Make sure you follow on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. You can always email Jordan, feedback@unfilteredsoccer.com. All right, Emma, let's get right into it. So we just spoke to Aaron Heifetz, who we love, the press officer for the women's national team. He was in LA. What was he doing, Tim? Where was he?
He was in front of the Landon Donovan statue. It's actually, it's pretty badass. Yeah.
Emma, I don't know if you know, but I have a statue in LA.
Yeah, he sent me a picture of it before I jumped online. It couldn't quite fit in the whole frame, so it must be pretty big.
It was, I think, outsized based on my 5'8" height. But anyway, January camp's starting. So you guys have games against Paraguay on the 24th and Chile on the 27th. Where are you now? I just saw a recent quote where I'm paraphrasing, but you're really thinking 2 years out now and how you plan over the next, whatever, year and a half or so. So what's your mindset going into this camp? What are you looking for? With the reminder that you don't have any European players, and the Gotham players, I believe, are in Spain preparing for the Champions Cup. So what's your mindset now as you go into this camp?
I think we're absent about 17 core players from the squad.
Wow.
So this is an unbelievable opportunity for those that, whether they are players that sit as part of the pool and have been coming regularly, that they build on the work that everybody's been putting in, or whether you are a person coming for the first time, whether you are a prospect, albeit maybe not everybody's for 2027, but for 28 or for 2031, that I think this is an unbelievable opportunity for those players, especially considering that when we did this last year, we went on from this camp last year and 7 players directly made their debuts going forward in that year, have become regulars in the group. So this is a chance that so many players have been working towards. So I'm excited for them.
Coaches, you always see the good. Without 17 players yet, this is still an opportunity. I think that's brilliant. One of your big players, the country's biggest player, world's biggest player, Trinity Rodman, is back with the national team. She's had a difficult year for various reasons. You've mentioned sort of having this maternal instinct when it comes to protecting her. Can you sort of expand on that and that relationship? It's always so interesting with big-time players and coaches.
Yeah, I think I've said this so many times. I've coached so many players in over 25 years, varying different clubs. And what I've learned is when you coach some of the top players in the world is that you've got to give the right support to them, particularly in the right times. And I think Trin has really, really needed at both the club level and the national team level to really support her to get things right, both on and off the field, because the injury she was having in her back, it just wasn't going to clear up quickly, and it required such an effort from everybody to get it into that place. So it's a new year, and one that I know she's super excited about, and I'm just happy she's pain-free and she gets to start the pre-season in a really solid place.
It's a really interesting point, Landon, before you jump in. I just sometimes think it gets missed on the outside. When you have the best when you're the best player and you're bold and you're brash, you look like Superman or Superwoman, and people just think you're invincible. And really, what those players still want to be is loved and coddled. And people on the outside completely miss that. So, yeah, that's a really interesting way of dealing with it.
Yeah, it's listen, I always you have to meet everybody where they're at. Every individual's different, and for someone like Trinity, she's not just a special talent, she's actually a special person. And she's a superb football player. I think her very best is easily one of the top players in the world. But you have to get the foundations right. And as you both know, if you're carrying injury and you're playing even with that, of course you can perform to a certain extent. And yes, you're always carrying things through your career. But I think it was having such a major impact on her that I think taking this time, I think will set her up, I hope, for even more success in the future.
Great.
Well, she's going to be forever linked now, most likely, just like our pal David Beckham was with what we call the Beckham rule, which was the designated player rule in Major League Soccer, and now she'll be linked with this new high impact player rule in NWSL. Just curious, one, your thoughts on it, and then two, are you also involved in that conversation discussion? Because you're more agnostic. You take the players wherever they're playing, but I can tell you do care about the league here and you want it to continue to grow because you know the importance for women's soccer.
I think when you've been in women's sport your whole life, you can't help but take a more like well-rounded view of it, because you're always. I think I've always had to be involved with building the sport.
Mm.
So what do I? My starting point is always the same. What do I want? The best possible conditions for players, and I know that that varies from club to club, league to league. But my job, I think, is always like keep demanding and driving the standard to be able to do that. And I think I was fortunate enough I could do that for many years as a club coach. But also I think when you take the growth of the women's game, someone like Trinity Rodman, if she were to play outside of US shores, would be one of the highest paid players in the world. And the realities are, I think the generations before us have fought so hard for our ability to not just choose, but to earn fair market value. And I think Trin is in a great position, and to be remunerated for what she's worth. And I've said it many times. I want them to play in world class environments. Look, ideally, it's in the NWSL. And I want the NWSL to thrive, but I'm not here to make decisions for them. I'm just here to sort of get them to like think everything through.
Yeah. So go ahead.
Sorry, Tim. Let me just. So one of the components of the rule, which was really interesting, is it's tied to how many minutes a player plays with the national team. And so I'm just thinking this through in your mind. This puts you. I mean, you're going to play who you're going to play based on what you think is best for the team and the player and their future. But there is an element of this that, in theory, could complicate the way you look at these things, right? Because in some ways, that is impacting their ability to earn money, whether they're playing more or less minutes, right? Am I overthinking
Yeah,
that, or is that
I mean, the good thing is I'm not thinking about it because I
right?
didn't create it. It's not my rule. It's one that, like I said, I've said it the other day. I think both the NWSL and the PA will work towards creating whatever that will look like. I don't think it's finalized yet. But the first thing I would say to the players is, look, that's not my call. That's been designed by somebody else, and you have to take that up with someone else. Like my job is to pick the very best team for the US Women's National Team, regardless of status of your contracts or wherever you are. And I think I will outline that from the get-go, because I think it's you're correct. It's not the right position to put me or any coach in this position into. And I will just make sure that I do what I always do and pick the very best available team.
Right. Okay.
So going back a little bit to you don't really you want your players playing world-class environments, and that could be
Yeah.
here in America, it could be somewhere else. If they seek your counsel, then and some players probably don't. They have their agents and their families, and they make their decisions. But if they seek your counsel, then it's am I understanding this right? You're sort of walking them through and helping them make the decision. You're not really dictating where they play.
No, usually I hear from them pretty late on, to be honest with you. You know, it's like they've already gone through some, it's like right at the end stage.
Yeah.
And I always throw it back to them. I always
Mhm.
say, have you thought about this? Have you thought about that? Or how will you feel if in 3 months' time, I don't know, there's no sun
Mm.
in London and you're missing the sun of LA? Have you thought through it? And then I might say things like, oh, you mentioned, these things might be important. Perhaps you need to go back and revisit that. I will always just get them to take their time with the decision and push them. Like most of the time, they'll say things like, "This has been my dream," and then I'll say, "Well, okay, that's listen, your life, your choices, but as I always say, be informed about it and." Make sure you work through some of the things that you know are going to crop up along the way in advance of doing it if you can. And most importantly, try to like always leave wherever you're leaving in the best possible way, because you never know, you may return. And sometimes I might even say to them, it sounds to me like you don't really want to leave, but there might be a little bit more support you might need. Perhaps you go back to your club and be really clear with them. So
Yeah.
Mm.
it's I feel like I definitely know since I've become a parent, I feel like it feels like quite a parental role
Yeah.
more than anything else. And like I said, some of them will come to me right at the beginning, some will come right at the end.
So, Emma, we have this with the men's national team now, coaching a club team, and how different it could be from coaching a national. Well, it is from coaching a national team. So, what have you seen the differences, and how are you experiencing it? Do you like one more than the other? How are you experiencing it?
When you have the players 80% of the time at club and you're having to deal with absolutely everything that comes with that, not just what they do, what's going on for them on the field and off the field, it's much like being a parent.
Mm.
uh, I think when you have the players for 20% of the time at the national team, it feels like being a grandparent, where
Interesting.
you get to 20, so you have to maximize every minute of them. You often get the best of them as well, because they're not bringing all their daily stuff in. It's a break from their parents in many regards, so they're like, oh my god, this is fabulous. So I feel that because I've experienced both sides
Mhm.
now, I've learned you don't get them that often, so make it count.
Mhm.
Mm.
Like be so intentional to make every minute count. And when they come in, I say this to my staff all the time, I don't want to see you sat behind laptops. You have 80% of the time to do all that. You got 20% of the time to make sure they have our full attention. And when we send them home, they're itching to get back here. So that's probably my first big thing. The second is I also don't have 6-week lead-in times in a pre-season, which I've done for 20 odd years. You've got 3 days. All right. How are we going to get across a game plan to deliver against two opponents upcoming in 3 days? But you might only have 8 of them that can do 50% of the session because they've just got off of a plane.
Right.
The other 50% just played the game the night before.
Mm.
Okay, so it's not really 3 days, it's 2
Mhm.
days. So, okay, so how do we make the classroom count? How do we make the analysis pitch side count? How do we make the one-on-one conversations count, etc.? I think, do I love it at this stage of my life. I think I would say I feel like if you'd have asked me 5 years ago, I wouldn't have been ready to be with them 20% of the time. I was still very much in the thick of enjoying the club scene, whereas now I can't imagine ever going back.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think that's the interesting part for me is sort of how you've been able to transition that, because what you're saying resonates with me, and I know Landon has his own sort of fatherly figure coaches, but I played for some brilliant coaches, but I think I played for some brilliant human beings. And part of what made them a great coach was that every day they had their hands on me. Every day we ate breakfast together. Every day they patted me on the back or challenged me. And like that made them special. And if I and made it different because they had me every single day. But to be able to transition that is such a key component. What I always think about with the women's national team is this. It's so different because our women are the best in the world. Sure, on the odd occasion, Germany could be great. The U.S. women as players, or it could be your former England team, but like they're in the conversation of the best team in the world with the best players. So for you coming in, and the reason the challenge is that way, when you look at the men's national team, there's often with respect, because Landon and I went through this, there's a rise and fall, right? A new coach comes in because you failed. New coach comes in because you failed, right? And then we rarely go from like this strength to strength sort of thing. But with the women, you can win a gold medal or a World Cup, and then you get a new coach, and that new coach has to go, oh, my challenge is not to just win games. My challenge is to win it all. And so I'm thinking more personally. Like, did you feel that? I mean, I'm guessing that's what drew you to the job, but did you feel sort of that pressure of like, okay, this is a I've got to win sort of situation?
I think I can totally appreciate what you're saying, and I think had the World Cup prior to me taking over been in a different place, I think the opposite. I think there was a decline happening in and around the game. This wasn't just about the team. And sometimes that's just transition. Sometimes I always say this, we don't give enough credit to everybody else.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it isn't there's a declining us. It's just everybody,
Sure.
the investment has increased
That's
elsewhere.
right.
Yeah.
I think what I would say, and I honestly, this is the God's honest truth. Being a parent now, probably been through when you lose a parent, probably been through, and I mean this seriously. I went through a really bad hysterectomy, and I thought, oh my goodness, life is can be short. All I keep thinking to myself was, oh my God, I've got the opportunity to do the one thing I've wanted to do my whole life, to coach this team.
Mm.
Right, let's weigh it up. What's the worst things? What's the best things that are going to happen here? Well, I get to go to an Olympics. I get to go to a World Cup, and I get to pay my mortgage bit. Okay, I've got perspective.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, now I've got it. Now I've got this crest in my hand. What am I going to do? Is it flight or freeze? Flock? Which one? Oh, I'm thriving. Like for me, this is jumping out of an aeroplane and like enjoying the amygdala moment, not running through a dark alley and thinking I'm going to die in a minute. I'm just in that state of my life, perhaps through life experiences, where I'm feel equipped to say, I get it, I understand the expectations, I can live with them, but I'm not going to let them define it for me. I've defined what it will mean for me. And as long as when I put that shirt back down, I've done everything I possibly can, I can live with myself. That's what fuels me. That's why, the players always say to me, they're like, you never look stressed. They never, and I'm like, look, stress happens, but maybe my stress might be something different. It might not be related to this job. It might be because I couldn't get Harry to school this morning.
Yeah. Yeah.
Stress happens, but I don't want it to be the one thing. I probably have created deliberate practice to be able to do. I've spent 25 years honing my craft to be able to do this job. I have promised myself with plenty of meditation, I will live it like that regardless of the outcome.
Well said.
The Unfiltered Soccer podcast is brought to you by Volkswagen, the presenting partner of U.S. Soccer.
Find out more about how VW is supporting U.S. Soccer at VW.com. And check out the Tiguan, bringing nice things to everyone.
Rolling sound, quiet.
Reset.
Hi, I'm referee number 2. So sorry I'm late. Violation. Red card.
And cut.
I can do it again.
Moving on.
Oh, we got it.
So this is your car, huh?
Yeah. Bye, guys.
How much are we paying this guy?
I don't even know who that is.
There's nothing better than feeling like someone has your back and that things are going to get done even without you having to ask. Like your crisp new jersey waiting for you in the locker room or a perfectly set up wall for a free kick.
Yeah, as we and Unfiltered Soccer get ready for next summer, we know that very little in the beautiful game is guaranteed. But as we prepare to bring our unfiltered brand of nonstop soccer coverage, it's good to know AT&T has your back with the AT&T Guarantee.
Staying connected matters. That's why in the rare event of a network outage, AT&T will proactively credit you for a full day of service. That's the AT&T Guarantee.
Learn more at att.com/guarantee. AT&T, connecting changes everything.
Credit for fiber downtime lasting 20 minutes or more, or a wireless downtime lasting 60 minutes or more caused by a single incident impacting 10 or more towers. Must be connected to impacted towers at onset of outage. Restrictions and exclusions apply. See att.com/guarantee for full details.
Soccer isn't just the world's game, it's your game. And now FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn every match into a bigger win with a same-game parlay profit boost. Build your SGP your way. First goal scorer, corners, player shots, match result, or mix it all together. Then apply your profit boost to give your custom bet the boost it deserves. This week, I'm really excited for the UEFA Champions League Matchday 7 games, especially this Inter versus Arsenal game should be really electric. Could the Serie A table leaders be the team to knock Arsenal off their pedestal? Just open the FanDuel app, create your same-game parlay, apply the boost right in your bet slip, and you're set. Visit the FanDuel Sportsbook app to get started. So you touched on the personal, and thank you for sharing that, by the way. I think we don't do enough of that in public spheres. You talked about the personal impact that things have had and led you to this. Professionally, getting fired by the Red Stars, going to Chelsea, all of the experiences there. How's that side of it led, or I guess formed you and shaped you as you are now? Because of course, very substantially, I presume.
In every way. I remember when I got fired in Chicago, I went to the zoo that day. Right? I was in Chicago and I remember feeling so embarrassed. I didn't know it at the time. I was just like, I feel embarrassed. I felt ashamed. I felt a failure. I felt like I felt broken. My confidence and everything felt destroyed. And I remember going to Washington about 10 weeks later to sort of in a supporting capacity. And I'd gone from being the worst coach in the world to feeling the most needed that quickly. And I thought, and it was a reminder, God, things shift so quickly. And that I've got to have the resilience to be and be agile enough to be able to do those things. And what I learned from those moments, and I'm glad I had them, was when you build anything in life, be balanced, be thoughtful, and can I make the starting point? Listen, great, you can't win anything without good players, so I'm not going to sit here and suggest otherwise. But great teams, if I can put together teams of people that are at least going to pull in the same direction, I think you've got a greater chance of making an impact. And I think I've always put that ahead of just picking the best player. I've always been thoughtful about piecing that together because I never did get that right at Chicago. And sometimes you can have a glut of too much talent. And over years and years and years of coaching, what I've realized is, well, everyone's talented, but can we get everybody to pull together in the right moments? Don't have to be best friends, but we have to pull together when it matters.
That's right. So it's interesting. So I can oversimplify it, and I often do with the women because I'm saying they're the best. I love watching them. They're the best. They're the best players. You said you can't deny the fact that you have some of the best players, and you know that helps you win games. But when you look at this team, for people who are listening, for people who are fans like us, when you look at this team, what is the greatest winning component? Because you said you have the best players, or you often have some of the best players. But what is?
I have the best learners. I tell people this all the time, and it's not just because they're all college educated players, but although I do think that plays a part when I compare that to every other nation in the world. And by that, I mean, these are people that They understand how to grasp ideas. They have a growth mindset. They have an emotional intelligence because they might have to grow up, go away from home, learn to live by themselves. Now, this, a lot of players from around the world, they might leave and go and play football somewhere,
Mhm.
but not combine that with an education.
Mhm.
And with that, there might be some, they might not grow in the same way. So I think that's the first thing. The second is, and I've never seen this with any other team I've ever coached, the love for the crest. Like these women, this is they came out of the womb and this is what they dreamed about. It wasn't like, oh, I'd like to play for my country. Playing for the US women's national team as an American female who loves playing football is the single biggest honor.
Mhm.
Mm.
In a country, as you know, where it used to be always to get to make the college level.
Mhm.
Now they can aspire to play at the pro level, but playing for the US women's national team, honest, every time they come into camp, that moment where they know they're going to get their first cap, I can just feel the tears. I can feel their
Wow.
energy.
Wow.
That's why for me, when I put them on the field, I know that what's going through their head is
Mhm.
their whole life.
That's
Mm.
So
amazing.
that's why I always say to them, what would you say to your 10-year-old self?
Mhm.
Because I feel like that's what I've learned to understand about the job is that it's so special, and I genuinely believe that there's only, and every team's special, I get that, but this team is there's something different in the water.
Mm.
In the whole culture that has been built from 91 onwards and passed on, that it's very, very hard to replicate.
It's so interesting. I mean, that there is some of the most incredible things I've ever heard, and it's so refreshing. And really, the
Mhm.
first part that you touched on, I'm glad you said it because I double down on this all the time. And now the expert yourself has said it. These women, I had an argument with a GM in the NWSL because it was my daughter plays for University of Tennessee in the SEC, so I've watched some of these girls perform, and it was a brilliant player. And she went into an NWSL preseason, and they said, she doesn't have this, and so she plays in USL, which is fine. And I said, yeah, but this every stage, this young woman has faced the odds and defied them. So when you just tell her what you said, she couldn't do something, just tell her what to do, and she'll make your roster. But instead, it was very short sighted. But I agree with you. I just think they have the ability to learn, to take information on board, to apply it, like
And want to be great team players. I cannot. I have
True.
some of my greatest memories of this team is just, it's the humility that's shown. Team before I. When I've told this publicly, I've told this privately. When I put Tierna Davidson back in the team for the Olympic gold medal final, and Emily Sonnet was effectively having to play for Tierna, coming into quarterfinals, the semi-finals, and quite rightly could probably have started the final. And I remember saying to Sonnet in the final, and listen, I'm putting Tierna back in the team. She said to me, "Of course you have to. That is the best thing for the team.
That gave me goosebumps.
We do whatever this crest needs. We do whatever this team needs."
And sometimes, and I'll just say from the men's side, people will say that, but it's bullshit, and I believe it. And it is unique. And having been on both sides, coach both sides, you see it, and you see it's not with every player, but vast majority. And that's what makes it special.
It's the culture piece, Landon. It's like,
Yeah.
we talk about, like, what do we want to keep hold of? And one of the things we always talk about is like those values that are just that are in our walls, that have been passed on from generation. We want to make sure we maintain those, like, and they sit above almost like your own individual desires.
Yep.
Like, we do whatever's best for the crest. That always
Well,
comes of the highest order.
they've had incredible role models through the years, right? And I think there's an obligation to respect what came before, especially on the women's side, with the players that laid the foundation, that were making $100 a week, and nobody knew them except every 4 years. And now you've got players who are so different. And so I'm really happy to hear you say that. And this is last question for me, Emma, and we really appreciate your time. One of the challenges, and you dealt with this right away with Alex Morgan, is how do you deal with players who are aging out and meshing that with young, talented players? And I think that's one of the hardest parts of coaching. Tim talks about this all the time, is players at the end of their career and how do you deal with that, right? And so, Lindsey Heaps is another one who, people like to criticize, and I say she just wins. It's like, why is she playing? Well, she wins, right? And so she's now come to Denver, and you've spoken. I know I saw how you've helped her through that process too. How do you deal with players at the end and mesh that with young players and couple those together so that it's copacetic? And I know it's challenging.
Yeah, I mean, first off, Lindsay's an incredible human being, and all the things that she does to uphold a standard for the crest is, that she absolutely doesn't get the credit she deserves for that. And as you both know, you need cultural architects, you need glues in teams that help bind, and she is without question that, as well as a leader and a competitor in her own right. Naturally, players progress in their career and they reach, the last phase of their career, and what I've learned is you just got to be honest. You've got to be honest at every juncture.
Yeah.
So if it requires me sitting down with Lindsay, as I have done, and said, look, if we get to the World Cup next year and Claire Hutton has played 4 games in preparation for this, I've failed in my job. You've got close to 100. I can't remember how many caps she's got. She'll kill me for this. But I'm failing in my job to do that. And that's part of the reason why we've had to play so many less experienced players, because we haven't always been thoughtful about getting players ready to. And so I think people like Lindsay will say, I understand that. But she'll also say, but I want to play. And I say, no, we want you to play, but it will have to, we will do it in this way. And this is why we are doing it. And I think if you give players the why and include them on that plan, they can, of course, are disappointed. But I will also turn around and say, look, this is important for you too, that you remember being a 21-year-old Lindsey Heap in the national team with player X at 32 being in front of you. And you used to say, why am I not getting a shot? It's the same for that young Claire Hutton, for example. But I think you need the combinations. Like, I don't believe in aging players out after a certain period, because if you don't have players that have been in the arena, when it comes down to it, you foul. You have to have that as much as you have to have, high prospects that their first major tournament might not be their best one, but we have to create exposures to get that right.
Amen. Well, Emma, thank you. We could do this all day. I wish we could. Best of luck against Paraguay on the 24th and Chile on the 27th. It's going to be really fun to watch you build now over the next year and a half into the World Cup. This has been honestly inspiring for me. I don't bullshit on here or anywhere, but I've really enjoyed listening to you. So thank you. This has been lovely.
Listen, whenever you guys are in one of our towns, when we're around, when we're training, come down.
Thank you.
I would absolutely love to.
You're always welcome.
Come down. Right? We'll have dinner when you're in New York if you'd like, because it's my town.
All right, we're there. I'm there in February.
Oh, brilliant.
All right.
Brilliant.
All right, it's Stoppage time, sponsored by FanDuel. New customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. Download the FanDuel Sportsbook app to get started. All right, this week, Champions League. 7 games this match day. Should be a lot of fun. Only 1 match day left before we get into the playoff round, so these games are very, very important. And reminder, teams who finish 1 through 8 automatically move on, but teams 9 through 24 must play a 2-legged playoff, so a lot at stake this week. First one, Tottenham versus Dortmund. Spurs' record is 3 wins, 2 losses, and a tie, same as Dortmund's in this Champions League. Dortmund have scored 19 goals so far in the competition. This feels like a draw. It's at Spurs. They're not in a good way. Feels like this will be a draw. Both teams need the win to get into that top 8, but I think a draw is most likely. All right, Inter versus Arsenal. Arsenal, unbeaten in the Champions League, are in first place in the table. Inter are 6th with 4 wins and 2 losses. It's at Inter. I think Inter win this game because Arsenal may rest some players. I think they're focused on the league. They're going to finish in that that top 8. So I think Inter win this game, especially at home. Moving on to Marseille versus Liverpool. If there was ever a game that had a draw written all over it, I think this is it. Marseille in 16th place. Be tough for them to move all the way up into the top 8. Liverpool in 9th, though. They need this game desperately to get into that top 8, but I think this game ends in a draw. Finally, Galatasaray versus Atletico Madrid. Galatasaray 18th, so they need to be careful not to fall out of that 24 and make sure they qualify. Atletico Madrid in 8th place with 4 wins and 2 losses. I think Atletico are the better team. I think they go to Turkey and win this game. Unfiltered Soccer's stoppage time picks this week are a draw in that first game, Tottenham versus Dortmund, Inter Milan to win over Arsenal, a draw in the Marseille-Liverpool game, and Atletico Madrid beating Galatasaray. Don't forget to check out the full list of Unfiltered Soccer futures on our socials later this week. All right, Emma, thank you. And we appreciate all of you guys for being with us today. Remember, again, to subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, anywhere you get your podcasts. Follow across all social media at Unfiltered Soccer for bonus content. Thank you, as always, to our presenting sponsor, VW, our stoppage time sponsor, FanDuel, and our additional sponsor, AT&T.
Have an amazing week, everyone. We'll be back on Tuesday with another edition of Unfiltered Soccer.